Welcome. For a brief moment there, I thought I'd left my notes in the other room, but I hadn't. So, welcome to the full council. My name is Anthony Kelly, Councillor Anthony Kelly. I'm deputising for Councillor Yvonne Johnson, our Mayor, who has given her apologies, unable to make it. We will start with a few moments of prayers and reflection. And I'd like to introduce the Reverend Natasha Beckles, who is the rector of St Nicholas Church in Perryvale. Thank you very much, Natasha.
Good evening. On this night of meeting and of conversation, of people, of position, of power, and of politics, I come to you with prayers of peace, a few words of blessing, of hopefully wisdom, and mostly of encouragement in these difficult times. As the poet Jean Binta Breeze once reminded those who might know her as a dub poet, your mother's demands at this time, your father's demands, your community's demands at this time is that you would know the honor of your hands and of your days, the honor of your work in this community, and find the courageous humility to kneel for the peace and unity and best interests of our communities, and be humble and courageous enough to stand for justice and dignity for all. For this reason, I pray for everyone under the sound of my voice, that you would know the beauty that you are and that you are deeply loved. For this reason, we kneel before a loving God, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name. I pray that out of their glorious riches, the divine may strengthen you with power through the Spirit in your innermost being, so that the perfect love of the perfect source of all things may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that each of you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together, with all those who love justice and mercy, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of God. And to know that this love surpasses all knowledge. All plans will fail without it. And that you, each one of you, may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend, for your kind words of reflection. Before we begin the meeting, I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube and the recording is uploaded after the meeting. We will presume that everyone consents to this, but if you don't, please leave the meeting now. There will be some members in attendance tonight. They will be able to speak upon any item, but they may not vote on any agenda item. So now I will move on to the first item of business. Item 1, apologies for absence and attendance. Mr. Bailey, have you received any apologies for absence?
Sorry, microphone's not in the normal place. Apologies for absence from councillors Steed, Sidhu, Pada and the Mayor, Councillor Johnson.
Are there any members present virtually?
Yeah, we've got Councillor Kumar, and I think Councillor Mahmood will be joining us virtually as well, if he hasn't already.
Thank you very much. Item 2, declarations of interest. Have you received any declarations of interest? I see none from the floor, so thank you very much. That's item 3, minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of July. Are the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of July 2024 agreed as a correct record of the meeting? That seems unanimous. Thank you very much. Item number 4, Mayor's announcement. Now, obviously, I'm speaking in different tenses here because Yvonne is unable to be with us. But I think we can all welcome Councillors Douglas, Moffat and Oxley to the chamber. I think a round of applause would be. I'm sure some of them will be forming part of the speech making today. So Councillor Douglas, South Acton, Councillor Moffat, Northolt Mandeville, and Councillor Oxley for Hanger Hill, who, as you know, replaced Councillors Costigan, Stafford and Anderson. I was doing a bit of research today. I understand, and if somebody wants to correct me, they may do so, that 10 London Borough of Ealing councillors have gone on to become members of Parliament. So I think a sort of note of thanks for us as a borough for making councillors. We have been celebrating Black History Month fully in the mayoralty. There was an event one of our past mayors attended on the mayor's behalf, organised by Adult Services, and it was a very good event. The mayor also went to the launch of National Hate Crime Awareness Week in central London, representing the borough. National Coming Out Day was on the 11th of October. We've been inspired by the staff having shared their stories of coming out on the council's intranet. The message we took from these stories was just how important allyship is to those who are coming out or who have come out. Diwali is approaching, which is a very busy time in the borough. So the mayor and I will be attending many events over this important festival time, including a national event at the House of Commons, one at the Meffil restaurant in Southall, and celebrations at Barclays Bank in Southall. As a reminder, if you haven't responded already, the mayor does have a fundraising at Monty's restaurant on the Mall in Ealing on the 24th of October. So please get your tickets from Cheryl. That covers item 4. Thank you. Item 5, petitions from members of the council. That's petitions from members of the council. Are there any petitions from the members of the council? We haven't received any petition. That takes us to. Fine, no problem. Yeah. Item number 6. We are now going to move on to questions from members of the council. I've got a slight amendment here. We've got Councillor Summers to Councillor Driscoll.
Yes, please, can the portfolio holder give us an update on the Visions for Northolt regeneration project?
Right. Thank
you, Councillor Summers. Just a few weeks ago, we celebrated the multi-million-pound investment at Northolt with the opening of the Village Green and the Kensington Road, with a successful launch event highlighted by Let's Go Southall, with their usual enthusiasm cycling there. So that was great to see. This is one of our many active travel ventures that are happening across the borough. On Kensington Road, there is now a new two-way segregated cycle path which keeps cyclists away from heavy traffic, as well as a revived Village Green with paving, new seating and planting, all of which was greatly improved the area. This is all part of our commitment to ensuring a safe and active travel in our borough, which is why we've committed to spending £10 million to ensure our residents feel safer when they are walking, cycling, scooting and travelling around the borough. With regards to the wider programme, Mandeville Road works commenced in the early summer and is due to complete and continue until March 25. Detailed designs for the remainder of the phases are underway and it will be followed by consultation. The Northolt Green Ring project, including Bellevue Park, is as a priority focus area, includes resilience work, new planting and seasonal ponds. And there's work also on the Racecourse Estate project, which sets out plans to invest in underutilised assets on the estate to enhance community provisions for residents. The potential use includes a new dedicated space for young people, an arts and craft station, as well as a cycle store and repair workbench and greening and planting storage. Importantly, all the activities have been informed by residents, officers and stakeholder engagement, including a successful public co-design event that took place on site in March 24. The concept design report will be published on the council website in November. Thank you.
Do we have a Labour Group supplementary question? Councillor Martin. Martin.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the portfolio holder give an update on what work has been undertaken to increase active travel more widely?
So, thank you, Councillor Martin. We're committed to ensuring safe and active travel in our borough, which is why we've committed to spending £10 million, as I mentioned earlier, to ensure our residents feel safe when they're cycling, walking and scooting. We've delivered 28 school streets already, and we will have delivered 35 by November. A quarter of London's traffic is made up of parents driving their children to school, so we want to make it easier for pupils and parents to choose active travel. We're also making our roads and walking routes safer and encouraging engagement as part of our free-ranging urban neighbourhood fun programme, which is a series of interventions across the borough. We're actively working to increase cycling in the borough, which is why we have now delivered over 100 bike hangers. Last week, we officially opened a cycle hub at Southall Station to allow safe, secure and covered storage for up to 66 bikes. As part of the council's wider strategy to create a safer, healthier and greener borough, we're consulting on high quality protected cycle track on Boston Road at the moment and also in Park Royal. And following feedback from an earlier summer consultation to improve Uxbridge Road, we are currently reviewing in the light of the received feedback to change those plans and improve them. We continue to invest in cycle training, cycle maintenance events and have long-standing support available to schools to encourage safer and active travel for our young people. A range of information given and feedback opportunities have been used to engage with residents and receive feedback. This includes direct mails, online plans and feedback options, in-person drop-in events, one-to-one discussions, pop-up events, and engaging with parents, children in schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Ball, you have a question, sir?
Thank you. Will the portfolio holder explain why Ealing is second only to Southwark in the number of council-owned empty homes and what is being done to get those homes back into use, which will help take families out of unsuitable and expensive temporary accommodation?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Ball. With thousands of families currently on our waiting list, bringing voided properties back into use is a key part of ensuring that we can house as many of those families as possible. A large proportion of the voided properties that Councillor Ball was referring to are currently earmarked for regeneration as part of our estate regen scheme. And although currently we're reviewing these properties to see if there's any way that we can bring some of those back into use for temporary accommodation, in the interim period before the works commence, we need to measure and make sure that we know where we are with our housing stock and we know where we are with what we need for our residents. There is a comprehensive work plan to repair and let void properties, and we are constantly working to improve the turnaround times for these, focusing on larger properties to ensure that the families in most need can have a safe roof over their heads. having our repairs contractors working round the clock in order to turn those properties around ready to be let. IT upgrades to make sure that all of our data and our information is up to date, and we can have a proper end-to-end system so that we can speed up that process. Working closely with residents to ensure that we have all the information that we need in order to make sure that we give them the right property for their needs. As I've said, bringing voids back into circulation is a key focus for the council. And in terms of relieving the pressure on our housing waiting list, the programme is a key point of focus for both myself and the housing team. And we are working round the clock to make sure that we are pulling those back together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brett. And does a member of the Liberal Democrat group have a supplementary question? Councillor Ball again.
Yes. Yes, I welcome the portfolio holder's answer. But given the huge cost of temporary accommodation and also the antisocial behaviour problems on some of the high intervention estates, can the portfolio holder reconsider the cost benefit of bringing many more void flats on those estates back into use, considering that many of those blocks will now not be redeveloped for years to come?
Well, I'm not sure that you can evidence that, but anyway, I'll refer back to the answer that I just gave, which is in terms of, you know, we've got a comprehensive work programme that we are, you know, our officers are absolutely focused on at the moment. And we've also brought in subsequent contractors to make sure that we can turn around our voids as quickly as possible. So, you know, I don't really, you know, we are a very large borough and we've got a lot of pressure on us. And I think, you know, you can lecture me, but at the end of the day, I think I know as well as anybody else the pressures on our budgets for TA and homelessness accommodation. And I'm absolutely focused, and so's the team within the council, to make sure that we can turn that around. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Raza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the portfolio holder update us on the work the council has undertaken to meet the demands of the Ealing Race Equality Commission?
Thank you, Councillor Raza, and thank you for your work at the outset of the Commission. I'm proud to update you on the work the Council has undertaken to meet the needs of Ealing's Race Equality Commission. Since the Commission published its report in January 2022, we've made significant progress in addressing the 7 priorities it identified. I'm delighted to say that a detailed report will be presented to Cabinet this November, outlining how the Council and our partners have responded to these demands with a focus on real, measurable impact. The main goals of this report is not only to evaluate the progress we've made, but also to assess the effectiveness of our partnership initiatives and ensure we're moving steadily forward towards genuine racial equality. A key aspect of this work has been ensuring accountability and transparency, which is why we established the Citizens Tribunal as part of our response to Priority 7, Feet to the Flame. The Tribunal was appointed to scrutinise the action of all of our partners involved in delivering these priorities, holding us and them to account and ensuring we remain committed to this vital work. We're excited to be hosting a special event in December to celebrate the outstanding contribution of the Citizens Tribunal, and we will also launch a condensed version of the Impact Report. This summary will highlight key successes, areas for improvement and the lessons we've learned along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Newstab. Do we have a supplementary question from the member of the Labour Group, Councillor Harley?
Can the portfolio holder outline any key milestones achieved so far and what further steps are planned to ensure lasting improvements in the racial equality across the borough?
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. One of the standout successes has been, as I said, the establishment of the tribunal itself. This group reflects the richness of Ealing's communities, brings together individuals with a variety of skills, lived experience, and most importantly, a shared commitment to addressing racial inequalities within Ealing. Their positivity and collaboration has fostered open dialogue, empowering members to advocate for meaningful change. We've made strides in key areas such as education, employment, health and housing, directly addressing some of the barriers that have historically disadvantaged communities. In health, we've seen increased representation of diverse communities in leadership roles, particularly at West London NHS Trust, where representation has reached 40% in 23. In education, I'm proud to report a reduction in the attainment gap for Black Caribbean pupils at Key Stage 2 and a marginal improvement at Key Stage 4. Our comprehensive training programmes have equipped schools to better integrate Black history into the curriculum, ensuring and working towards inclusivity and fostering a sense of belonging amongst our Black students. Looking forward, we'll continue to strengthen our partnerships with community groups, integrate racial equality principles into our everyday work, and build on the successes of the Citizens Tribunal. And there's a lot to do, and all of the inequities that the Commission uncovered are not going to be met in this time frame. But moving forward, it's essential that all of us, political leaders, councillors, officers, our wider communities, embrace these priorities as part of our mainstream responsibilities. And by embedding these demands into our everyday work, we'll ensure that our efforts to tackle racial inequalities are not just projects or tribunals or time limited, but form the fundamental backbone of how we and our partners operate. And our aim is to ensure that every initiative, every policy and every decision we make is grounded in our commitment to racial equity. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Newstab. Question from Councillor Conti.
Thank you. What does the portfolio holder say directly to Ealing pensioners on £12,000 a year, or the 70% of disabled pensioners who will lose out when they have their winter fuel payments taken away by the government?
Like this council, the government is committed to supporting pensioners, with millions set to see their state pension rise by up to £1,700 this Parliament, and that's through Labour's commitment to the triple lock. After having found a £22 billion black hole in the nation's finances, the government recognises that tough decisions must be made, and it's right that support is targeted to those who need it most, including disabled pensioners. Over 1 million pensioners will still receive the winter fuel payment, and eligible pensioners in Ealing who are not currently claiming it are identified through the council's databases and contacted to prompt them to apply. This latest scheme has seen 116 households take up pension credit, with these households set to receive over 23,200 in total winter fuel payments this winter. At a national level, the government is supporting the households that need it most by delivering the £150 warm home discount for low-income households from October. As well as that, as a council, we've allocated £700,000 from the Household Support Fund to supplement the council's local welfare assistance scheme for the next 6 months. This scheme will keep supporting residents in crisis during the winter. To raise awareness of the scheme, we will contact pensioners who receive a reduction in council tax and/or housing benefit, but do not currently receive pension credit, informing them of the available support for utilities, food and living expenses through the local welfare assistance scheme. We will also collaborate with Age UK to assist those who need help completing the online form. Our community hubs will also be promoting both pension credit and the local welfare assistance scheme, as well as supporting with online forms. We're encouraging pensioners to check their eligibility for pension credit to ensure that as many Ealing residents as possible have access to support that they're entitled to.
Thank you, Councillor Nagpal. Do we have a question, supplementary question from the Conservative group?
Thank
Councillor
you,
Conti.
The portfolio holder talks about difficult decisions, but is it fair that the government have chosen to give inflation-busting pay rises to people earning over £60,000 a year on the back of cutting winter fuel payments to pensioners only on £13,000 a year? There are 33,000 pensioners in Ealing who will still lose out. Is that fair, yes or no?
Councillor Conti, you can lecture me all you like, but the reason that we are in this situation is because 14 years that your party was in charge, and in 14 years, you absolutely crushed the economy. You mismanaged the public finances, okay? And that's why these difficult decisions are now having to be made.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Mohammed.
Thank you. Can portfolio holder provide an update on refurbishment of the Young Adult Centre?
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. I am delighted to report that the refurbishment of the Young Adult Centre, or YAC, as I think we all call it, is progressing very well indeed. Since the contractor started on site, they've been beavering away to carry a full refurbishment, and we are currently in week 18 of a 24-week programme, and the works completed so far represent 75% of the work to be done. As it stands, I think we are able to say that we should be done by the last week of November. I had the opportunity to visit the building recently with Councillors Mason and Anand, and we were so impressed with the work that had been going on. The amount of insulation that's going in to make the building sustainable and fit for the future. The space itself has been opened up. It is bright. It is airy. It is looking fantastic. But it is not just inside that we are refurbishing. We are also upgrading the multi-use games area, the Muga, again, as I think we would normally call them. And that's being carried out by contractors appointed by the FA, and that's been going for the last 2 weeks now. There's been significant progress, and although, of course, we are somewhat dependent on the weather gods, I think we should still be finishing around the same time as the main building. And once that refurbishment's complete, the youth service will begin moving back into the building from the Dormers Hub on the golf links, and we aim to have the centre fully operational, not in spring 2025, as the delivery plan suggests, but in January of 2025. So the youth services team will oversee the fit out, to get all the equipment in, and it will be ready for our young people to make the most of it from day one. It is such a fantastic project, and it will continue to provide fantastic facilities for young people in our community. And I'm so happy that we are not just on schedule, but possibly slightly ahead of it too.
Thank you. Do we have any supplementary question from a member of the Labour Group?
Yes, please. Okay.
Councillor.
Can the portfolio holder outline how the refurbishment is being aligned with the needs of our young people? Thank you.
Absolutely. It is possibly some time since I've been able to call myself a young adult. So I'm afraid so, Councillor Moffat. So it is not me who is driving this project. It is not the Cabinet that are driving this project. It is not officers who are driving this project. It is the young people of our borough who are driving this project. And from the very beginning, they've been actively involved in the design and the planning stages. They've worked closely with the architects and the youth service to make sure their voice is heard and that they are the heart of the building. And it's been an ongoing engagement programme. They've been sharing feedback and ideas as we go along, making changes incorporated into the design. So whether it's the size and the layout of the kitchen area that has jigged around because of their feedback, colour schemes, types of flooring in different parts of the building, they've influenced the layout of the gym. And crucially, although we didn't think of it, they said we need both a music studio and a games room. And guess what? We have both a music studio and a games room. They've been involved in the design of the multi-use games area, what sports they want to be able to play on it, so what markings have we put in. So it's not just going to be a physical space, but it's going to be a place that young people own, not just when it opens, but long into the future. It's about creating a space that young people feel a true sense of ownership in, of, and belonging in. So they remain actively involved, and hopefully we'll have a fantastic celebratory opening in early 2025.
Thank you. Councillor Hirsch.
Thank you. Will the portfolio holder consider setting up a local council fund for those 32,357 pensioners who will be shivering this winter as a result of the government's decision to withdraw the winter fuel allowance? Apologise for the same topic area, but it's obviously very important and everybody's been thinking about it.
The council has allocated £700,000 from the Household Support Fund to supplement the council's local welfare assistance scheme for the next 6 months. This scheme will keep supporting residents in crisis during the winter, and as I've already mentioned, Ealing pensioners who receive a reduction in council tax and or housing benefit, but do not currently receive pension credit will be contacted. They will be informed that there is available support for utilities, food, living expenses through the local welfare assistance scheme. And as I've already mentioned, we will also be collaborating with Age UK to assist those who need help to complete the online forms. As a council, Ealing participates in a London-wide initiative to encourage pensioners to claim pension credit. And as a result of the latest campaign, 116 households have taken up pension credit. And over their lifetime, the impact of this campaign will reach nearly £6 million. Our community hubs will also be promoting both the pension credit and the local welfare assistance scheme, as well as providing support with online forms. Over 1 million households in England and Wales will continue to receive up to £300 in winter fuel payments. We're encouraging pensioners to check their eligibility for pension credit to ensure that as many people as possible have access to support that they are entitled to. This council is committed to supporting pensioners. We're encouraging pensioners to check their eligibility to ensure that as many Ealing residents as possible have access to support that they are entitled to.
Thank you, Councillor Nagpal. Do we have a supplementary question from the Liberal Democrat group? Councillor Hirsch.
Brief one. So I'm very pleased to hear that the council has decided to additionally support pensioners from the Household Support Fund. But can I just ask whether the portfolio holder would consider writing to the minister to complain about that councils now have to divert these funds to actually plug the gap which has been created with this kind of a cut of allowances?
No, I won't be writing to make any complaints. Firstly, because, well, this is being means tested. Like many other payments that the government makes, there are millions of pensioners in this country who don't need that payment. Just recently, campaigning in the by-elections, I actually spoke to a gentleman in Southampton Ward who said to me, I think this is a really fair way to do it. I don't need that money. I would rather it was being spent on other important things like fixing the NHS and other initiatives that this government is focusing on.
Thank you, Councillor Nagpal. Councillor Hamidi.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Can the portfolio holder provide an update on how the council is working to grow the local Ealing economy?
Catch your breath there.
Thank you, Councillor Hamidi, for your question. When this administration was elected in 2022, one of the key goals we set for ourselves was the creation of 10,000 good and well-paid jobs for our residents. And we've been making good on that promise. We've already created 6,000 jobs. And with our new plan for jobs and skills, as well as our plans for Ealing's economy after 6 p.m, we are ensuring that it is easier than ever for businesses to come and invest in Ealing. We've set out our goals for driving investment in new and high-paying sectors to ensure that well-paid jobs are available here in Ealing. And we're making sure that every town can take advantage. Just recently, I was in Greenford to chair the launch of the Greenford Innovation Partnership, bringing together local businesses and educators to ensure that local people have access to well-paid work right on their doorstep. And we're working closely with our partners, with the GLA on the London Growth Plan to ensure that Ealing is at the centre of plans for economic investment, with OPDC and Imperial College as the plans for the West Tech Corridor come to fruition, with the potential for hundreds of jobs in high-tech industries. I'm working with hundreds of local businesses, whether it's through Good for Ealing to drive further investment into the borough, through our local business improvement districts to ensure that our high streets can be thriving local centres for residents, or through our Living Wage Action Group to ensure that local people are earning a decent living income. Ealing is positioned right at the heart of West London, with 5 Elizabeth Line stations running through the borough, Heathrow Airport on our doorstep, and the largest industrial estate in Europe in Park Royal. There isn't a better borough to work or do business in.
Kumi. Does a member of the Labour Group have a supplementary question? Councillor Wesson, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Does the portfolio holder share my optimism about our new Labour government's plans for boosting growth and improving the rights of UK workers?
Thank you, Councillor Weston, for your question. I do absolutely share in the optimism about the new government's plans for growth. In just 100 days, we've already seen the government secure tens of billions of pounds of investment from the private sector, showing that Britain is open for business. We finally have a government that is committed to creating the environment that is needed to support growth in Britain, investing in affordable homes for working people, investing in green energy to bring down bills for people and businesses, investing in infrastructure to make it even more attractive to invest and do business in Britain. After 14 years of Conservative chaos, a government that is set out to deliver the economic stability that businesses have been crying out for is a breath of fresh air. In Ealing, we're doing the same. Councillor Manro worked hard to help deliver the local plan, to provide clarity about how we want the borough to develop over the next decade, outlining our plan for the local economy through workspace provision and changes to our high streets, helping provide space for new businesses to start and existing businesses to expand and thrive. But there isn't just a focus on creating wealth for businesses, but improving pay and conditions for workers as well. Protections for gig economy workers with guaranteed hours and compensation for cancelled shifts. Entitlements for paternity leave from day one. The right to parental or bereavement leave from day one. Rules to ensure service workers can retain the full amount of the tips that they earn, and improved entitlements to sick pay. These are provisions that will improve the lives of millions of workers across the UK, improving their pay and helping them feel happier and more secure in their work, thanks to a government that cares for working people.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nagpal. And to everyone, it's 7:35 and we're on item 7, so I think that's good progress, so thank you for that. Item number 7, the 2024 to 2025 Council Plan Delivery Plan. In a moment, I'll call on Councillor Mason to move the Council Delivery Plan. It's a tradition that we use the discretion and extend speeches to allow the mover to have 7 minutes and the first speaker from each opposition group to have 6 minutes each. So everyone's nodding at that. So I call on Councillor Mason, who is looking at that clock at 7 minutes, whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and may I start my speech today by welcoming to their places Councillor Katie Douglas for South Acton. And Councillor Dominic Moffat for Northolt Mandeville. And Councillor Oxley, I'll come to you in 1 second, but please allow me to congratulate the members of the Labour Group who have been elected. For those who will know Councillor Douglas will know that she was integral to the administration forming its historic 4th term at the last 2022 elections. So we're particularly pleased to be able to welcome her onto our benches. And to Councillor Moffat, who has for over 10 years given solid public service to this borough already in the towns of Ealing, of Southall, and of course Hanwell. If that is a testament to the work that he will of course do for Northolt in the years to come, we know that we're very, very pleased to have him on the team. Now, in election campaigns, we all know that there is something that we deploy called squeeze messaging. If you're a Liberal Democrat, you get together in a room of 10 other Liberal Democrats and you take a straw poll as to who is the second challenger. And then you publish it on a leaflet with a little disclaimer that says that we're winning here. If you're in the Labour Party, you do something called the squeeze message that delivers a really simple and clear message. It's a 2-horse race. If you vote for any other party than the Labour Party, you risk electing the Tories. So can I congratulate the Liberal Democrats for proving our squeeze messaging right in electing Councillor Oxley, who formerly was of this parish from 2006 to 2010 as a Conservative for the Hanwell Broadway ward. I'm sure he's very welcome to Ealing. And I'll say to Councillor Conti in terms of his question earlier on, you know, unless the Tories are willing to learn the characteristics of humility and reflection and reflect on the fact that it is unfair and unwise for millions of Britons to be facing sky-high mortgage rates and waiting lists as long as they have ever been as a consequence of a Conservative government, if he looks to his left and he looks to his right, he'll find one less member. And if he looks to his left and his right, in 2 years' time, he might not even be there. So some humility, please, when we talk about the record of the Conservatives in government and why we now have a Labour government so committed to delivering on behalf of the British people. Today, we meet as a council to look forward to the year ahead, a council plan that reflects the priorities of the administration, that delivers on the priorities that we set out in 2022, that we received a mandate for, and that our mandate was once again confirmed in the elections that we have just seen. And we do that in the worst economic context than we have possibly had since the Second World War. An irresponsible Conservative government who ran up a £22 billion deficit that they knew that they were not paying for and left it for the Labour Party to clean up. After 14 years of austerity that have cut away at local government and leave us in a situation where we have to do more with less. And so we will. And we will work together now as a Labour government, clear and dedicated in its missions of securing growth for our country, of making sure that people have every opportunity in life, securing the homes that we know that we need. And that is so much in chime with the agenda that Ealing set out, of making sure that we bring good jobs back to our borough, that we tackle the climate emergency and that we fight inequality wherever we find it. So today you are going to hear from Cabinet members and you're going to hear from the administration and all of our councillors setting out precisely our agenda of delivering safe, genuinely affordable homes, enabling happy, healthy lives, taking firm climate action, making sure that people and young people do indeed get the best start in life, that we deliver decent living incomes, that we tackle crime and antisocial behaviour, that we enable good growth and we curate thriving communities and we deliver an inclusive economy. And that we do that according to the three guiding missions, the three North Stars of this administration, which is absolutely right that we secure an economy in which everybody benefits, that every one of our 7 towns can look forward to the proceeds and share in the proceeds of growth. That our responsibility as a council and as an administration is to ensure that we are enabling people to have a happy family, friendship and community life in which people can thrive, and that we find the necessary compromises that we need to make to enable us to move forward as a cohesive and collective society. That is fundamentally what sits at the heart of this council plan and the agenda that we put forward to the council today, setting out the mandate that we have clearly had from the people of Ealing, that mandate that has been renewed. And council, I look forward to the conversation that we are about to have, but more fundamentally to all of the things that we know that we will deliver collectively together in the year ahead, as a Labour government, as a Labour mayor, and as a Labour administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor Brett, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Let me follow where Councillor Mason started. Welcome and congratulations to our new Labour councillors, Dominic Moffat and Katie Douglas. Ealing Labour are stronger than ever with you both on board. Oh, and of course, let's not forget the new Tory, Lib Dem councillor Jonathan Oxley. Welcome to you too. And then there were 4. We have 4 Tory councillors left. Now, they went from running this council to being a group so small that they will be able to hold their meet. Oh God, I'm going to mess this up now. They're a group so small they won't be able to hold their meetings in a phone box. Sorry, I've completely ballsed that up now. Right, let's get back. So I want to second the motion. I want to thank officers from the council for their work on delivering for our residents, and also to reflect on the successes of this year. And we have got many to talk about. I'll talk about some in housing. We have provided 40 new supported places for rough sleepers to build their new lives. We work closely with our partners in the voluntary sector to help those rough sleeping in our borough who have no recourse to public funds. We continue to invest in our council housing so tenants continue to have safe and genuinely affordable housing. And we have also ended the unsuitable temporary housing of Meath and Marsden, which I think we can all agree on wasn't the best accommodation for our residents. And the focuses for this year are continuing our work with the Citizens UK to educate private renters in our borough on their rights, to reduce the use of inappropriate and expensive hotel and B&B accommodation, to work with residents to help shape our services and improve our estates, which will inform how our residents want to engage with us, and also how we as a council and a responsible landlord put their voices first, and work with our new Labour government on homelessness task on the new homelessness task force and identifying opportunities for local councils like ours to be able to invest and build in safe and genuinely affordable homes, and to publish our housing strategy, which is an important piece of work to help us inform where the need is greatest in our borough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Malcolm, 6 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Let me first of all welcome, as others have done, the 3 by-election victors, South Acton's Katie Douglas, Northolt Mandeville's Dominic Muffet, and also the new councillor for Hanger Hill, Jonathan Oxley, who won the only gain of the night with a huge swing. I'm sure that all 3 will use what they learnt in their by-election campaigns to improve Ealing over the next 18 months until the next local elections. In the run-up to today's debate, I've been speaking to lots of business owners and residents across the borough, and they've told me some of their stories about what the council does well and what the council doesn't do well. And it is important to have some big ideas and some big plans, which this document does, but it is vital that the basics are done correctly. And many of the basics clearly are not being done correctly, whether you're in the north, east, south or west of the borough. So a couple of examples here, and I'll come on to housing later, but one resident reported to me, this was a vulnerable resident, elderly with his wife, both serious illnesses. He got a bill off the council after having owed nothing to the council for 30 or 40 years of being a tenant. He then got a bill for £23,000. After he and his wife were quite stressed, contacted the council, did not get what they wanted from their phone calls. They were ignored, essentially. They contacted their ward councillors. They didn't get an answer. So when I got involved in that particular case, the bill was then renegotiated, as it appeared, to £3,500, which to the officer may seem a good idea, or to maybe yourself, but actually that was incorrect. They owed nothing as they saw it. When it was renegotiated and recalculated again, after much pestering, the bill came to £1.50. And the bizarre nature of that bill was it was probably correct, the £1.50. However, these residents had to go through quite a few months of hell to get to the right amount. The cost of a letter and the stamp to send it to them to confirm it was £1.50 cost a lot more than that. And they should have just had that bill written off, but they didn't. And I think the cost here is that we need to get some of our basics correct. And this is an example where some vulnerable people are treated quite badly by either our systems or those who are using them. The second example is where you have a local business. They were paying the council its money to collect its business waste every day, and that had been working fine for quite a while. And then they started to receive penalty notices for dumping their business waste on the pavement. And of course, the problem here was the enforcement agency that the council hired did not speak to the council. And so every time he dumped his waste, there was a risk he would get a £400 bill. Now, many small businesses today are really struggling to survive, and getting a bill and the stress along that is really not what's going to help them. And so in the end, one part of the council was not speaking to its agencies, and this isn't what we've seen elsewhere. The council has a poor record of managing contractors and third-party agencies, whether it's housing repair companies, tree maintenance firms, or enforcement organisations like these. And in the end, it has to sack those companies or part business with them because the relationship doesn't work. And I think we need to look at how we treat our customers in a different way. The third example relates to housing. So the portfolio holder may like to comment on some of these. We've seen over the past number of years, many tenants reporting housing repair issues. Their treatment is not adequate. They're either being ignored or they're being given what they need too slow. And some of these people, these tenants, are in a real bad situation. We've had situations where the replacement of windows, especially when it's cold in winter, is actually a real priority for some of these people. The insulation that they've been promised just doesn't happen, and they have to wait next year and the year after. Some of them don't know when they're going to get their works done. And often when you see this, you can see it's the council and its contractors not working correctly. And although there are things in train that have been done to try and improve this, why have these mistakes been done in the first place? We've got contractors, subcontractors and the council not working together. The tenants are the losers in these cases. So in summary, I would say that the council may trumpet some of its successes, but it should consider how to sort out the basics first so that our tenants, our residents, our businesses don't suffer. We're seeing a record number of complaints and ombudsman cases against Ealing over the past 10 years. This isn't a new thing. We're seeing horrible experiences from some tenants suffering from bed bugs and damp. And some of these conditions of damp, when you see the photographs or you visit them, are absolutely appalling. And you would not pay money to go and live in any of those houses. And we need to do more to help those people. In Councillor Basuto's Lib Dem budget 6 months ago, he uncovered about £1.5 million, which could have been spent on alternative services to help some of these types of cases, but others. But you voted that down. The Lib Dems in opposition have listened and act to solve problems across the whole borough, whether that's reversing the light dimming that you introduced a number of years before, or also the habitat destruction on Warren Farm. Rather than listening to people and getting the answer correct at the beginning, it seems residents and organisations have to fight with you, which is a waste of everyone's time in many ways. Also, in the recent Cabinet report, I'll say the Liberal Democrats want this council to raise the bar, but it needs to not lower its standards.
Thank you, members. Yeah. Councillor Gallants, 6 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Good to see you up there. I'd like to start tonight by also welcoming the new members. I've met Katie Douglas in South Acton, my new councillor. We all already had a nice little chat about South Acton. And Dominic Moffat, he's a kind of brother in arms in some ways, you know, because we're, yeah, well, it's not nothing to do with politics, but known him for a long time. He did a wonderful thing organising a politics session for kids in the town hall, and that was really, really good. I'm going to come on to that later because that's an important part of what we're going to do. And welcome to Jonathan Oxley. Hard-fought by-election, yes it was. We're all tired. You're coming back on the council representing Hanger Hill. We're all very sorry about it, as you can see. You know, it was hard on us. And I'm sure we're going to hear plenty from Jonathan in his urgent desire to hold Labour to account, but apparently not tonight. Now, we're here to examine the council plan and hold Labour to account on it, and that's what they need, that's what they ask for all the time. It takes quite a bit of holding, doesn't it? In fact, as you examine the plan, you're left with a feeling of holding a kind of jelly that runs away, because it doesn't have concrete goals. If you want a concrete goal, members, you can go and look at that massive structure going up on the Hanger Lane Gyratory. First thing you see when you enter Ealing, who's going to occupy it? Students, apparently. Well, we'll see, won't we? Right. I'm going to talk about children. I'm going to talk about communities tonight. My colleague's going to touch on other subjects. But on the subject of Fairer Starts, I want to start by saluting the incredible team led by Robert South, whose work extends well beyond the confines of the borough. And the more I look at it, the more I'm amazed at what they're doing. We welcome in particular in the plan the work that's planned for children to help children at all stages, from raising numbers registered at children's centres, the Ealing Youth Plan, and then the work being done to help disadvantaged children into good careers through the Children's University, the Virtual University, and a lot of other agencies. Good, good. And we will support that, of course we will. And the amazing work being done to get children who are not in education, employment, or training into those things, particularly focusing on young people with SEND or who might be in the youth justice system. Now, we're all behind that. That's good. But please do not let ideological aversion to academies get in the way of generating communication and sharing. And I refer you to a nasty little paragraph, Fairer Start 9, where academies are accused of profiteering, of putting profit ahead of education. Well, go and talk to academies and suggest that to them, and they won't get offended, because they don't get offended about anything. They'll just laugh at you for just suggesting that. And the same thing with independent education. You're presumably, and I know you all are, watching in horror as that VAT levy on private schools hangs heavier and heavier around the neck of the new Labour government. What a mistake. All it's going to do is put thousands of middle-income parents into difficult circumstances while raising at best £1 billion, which happens to be about the budget for Ealing Borough. There are 32 boroughs in London, you'll remember. Some schools are actually going to be getting a rebate because they have to register for VAT, which was hardly in the plan. What you should be doing, we all should be doing, is using the council's convening powers, and they are considerable, to bring independent and state schools together, sharing facilities and experience for the benefit of all. Talking a bit about communities, I certainly agree with the review of internal and external equality plans with a focus on achieving fair outcomes for the borough's residents. Now, who's going to disagree with that? It's right. Of course we support it, but it needs substantiation. There's one wonderful new development, developing 3 new growing spaces for communities across the borough. Very good. Please pay careful attention to the soil quality. But above all, be practical. I've recently visited Pear Tree Park, on the new Pear Tree Park. Used to be the Perryvale Park Golf Club. And what used to be a busy and unpretentious community space with a humming cafe is now desolate and empty. It's a kind of moonscape. It's true, there's no one there anymore. No, and there's no reason on earth why that wonderful golf course could not have been part of the planned regional park. And I'm sorry, I know it's being discussed, but it's true. It should be still there. Now, we're also told about the planned Lido, or Lido, whatever you want to call it, linked to the development of the regional park. Everybody laughs about that. But don't forget that £250,000 is being spent to see whether it's possible or not. And my question is, how long are you going to kick that can down the road before admitting that it's an impossible project, when everything should have been focused on Gurnell, building up Gurnell? Look quickly at the Your Voice, Your Town. We've had 2 training sessions. They're good training sessions in how to be a councillor. I've learned something and put some effort into it. But this project was supposed to be rolled out in autumn 2023. The officers are doing their very best, but being hung out to dry by woolly thinking, a lot of fantasy, and a game of musical chairs in cabinet as well. And I'm sorry, it's true. We're hearing about town teams, all good, maybe, but who will be on them? Who will chair them, and how will the money be spent? Those are the questions that we're asking, and we are going to make sure they're answered. Mr. Deputy Mayor, this is a plan with plenty of welcome intentions, which we support, but for a very large part, it lets subjective ideology cloud sound judgment, and we won't support it in its present form. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallants, for your timings. Councillor Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I have to say I'm very often on Pear Tree Park practicing my running for the Ealing Half, which I ran a few weeks ago. I did. It's not my time again, so it's just me flexing. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. As we look back over the past year, I am so proud of what we've achieved. The Council's delivered significant improvements in social care, and we are making good on our pledge to build connected communities and better lives for our residents. There are many initiatives I could point to over the last year. Our transformative health and wellbeing strategy that recognises the many building blocks of health that are essential to our wellbeing, our continued support for the real living wage for caregivers in Ealing, and our newly expanded co-production board that bring lived experience into decision making. No one knows more about the services and how the services that affect them most should be run. And in the last month alone, I've had the privilege of launching both the Ealing Smoke-Free Service and the HIV support service, Living Well in Ealing. A true highlight for me, though, has been the work of the Ealing Reablement and Bridging Service. A moment of real anxiety for many is leaving hospital and getting back to life as normal. We know that for too many, a stay in hospital, even for something relatively minor, can spell the end of independent living, particularly for those who live alone. The Ealing Bridging Service supports residents with a transition from hospital back to home. And at that point, a dedicated reablement carer steps in. And rather than doing everything for them, the focus is on helping people regain the skills and confidence to do things for themselves. This might be washing, dressing, preparing food, or simply getting used to being back at home again. This short-term focus and intensive support programme has seen many hundreds of residents being able to return to enjoy independent life. It's also freed up vital acute hospital beds, and it brings with it significant savings. Looking ahead, hand in hand with the Labour government, we are filled with optimism and ambition. And in the year ahead, we will stand firm to defend the NHS, to discharge our duty and play our part in the essential work to bring it back after the ravages of 14 years of Tory destruction. We are committed to supporting the Labour government tilt the focus of healthcare towards prevention and community-based care, to fighting health inequalities and delivering compassionate, supportive care for our residents. We will work hard to fight the inequalities that blight our lives, that the Tories created, exacerbated and did nothing to redress. It cannot be right that being born in one part of the borough of Ealing gives you an average extra 9 years of life than being born in another. And I am proud to be part of a Labour administration working hard with a Labour government to change that. Our mission is that no one is left behind, not just because they were born in the wrong neighbourhood. We all deserve access to the support we need when we need it. And together we will fight for and achieve a brighter, healthier and more equal future for Ealing and play our part in a brighter, healthier and more equal Britain.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Driscoll, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'll focus on the climate action portfolio and what we're achieving there. From small steps to larger ventures, some concrete steps, Councillor Gallant might like to know as well, including tarmac. Some small steps, bike hangers, well over 100 now, another tranche being rolled out very shortly. School streets in 2020, we had the first 2. Now we've got 28, very shortly we'll have 35. Been massively successful. I had the pleasure of being there the first day of St Raphael's and Down Manor schools in Northolt. A massive change on the first day, and each school commented how it made a real difference to the safety of children travelling to school and how they thought about travelling. And this behaviour change, not always about that tarmac and concrete, but how we're thinking about how we're moving about, is going to be really important. Transport is one of our greatest contributors of carbon in the borough, and how we change how we move about will need a whole different viewpoint. We're going to be proud about our active travel programme, £10 million. We've got consultations live at the moment for Park Royal, Boston Road. We've got consultation that's just closed for Uxbridge Road that's being reviewed. We've got other plans going on there where we're taking people on board. Whole host of different consultation events going on in person, online, by leafleting, and we'll have a programme about expanding that to reflect about what my colleague, Councillor Newstead, was saying about the importance of health as well. So we've got a co-benefit there, which is really important to endorse our climate change. Climate activities is one of our priorities. We set a target for a huge number of tree planting. We did over 20,000 trees last year. We've got another 16,000 in our programme, but we're actually anticipating completely going beyond that within 6 months of the planting season, which is astonishing. We've got programmes to do with our infrastructure, with how we deal with people, but it's a great step forward. But what I would ask of people is thinking about how we do that change of behaviour and how each of us is going to be that advocate. So whether it's about recycling, we have a problem with contamination, but how we're going to change that, how are you going to advocate in your communities? We're the third best recycling in London. We've got an active and very good GEL, Green at Ealing, collection service, and tackling fly tipping. We're going to tackle that more ferociously and going to be going after that much more persistently across the borough. So we've got lots of huge positive steps that are happening in this field. So I commend the council plan to the borough and hope we endorse it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Ball, 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. We're all only too aware that there's a housing crisis, and especially a temporary housing crisis, both nationally and acutely here in Ealing. Families have been placed in totally unsuitable commercial hotels many miles away with no cooking facilities, sometimes with journeys lasting hours just to take the children to school and having to frequently move. I welcome the work that's been done to take families out of this environment, but some larger families are still languishing in travel lodges beyond the end of September target. And while dedicated temporary housing B&Bs are more suitable, we mustn't kid ourselves that that environment is all that much better. This situation shows in the papers before us, with all the safe and genuinely affordable homes performance indicators being red. There are clear knock-on effects for our children's services and adult services teams as well. What toll does living in these conditions have on the families? And this crisis has a huge financial cost to the council as well as the human cost. I'm concerned that part of the administration's response to this seems to be to make it harder for families to get Ealing to accept housing duty. So the same homelessness, but off our books rather than on them. The long-term solution is obviously to provide more affordable housing, but the administration's manifesto pledge of 4,000 genuinely affordable homes seems doomed to failure. That's not entirely their fault. Liz Truss's hiking of interest rates played its part, but it leaves Ealing's homeless families with little hope of the safety and security of a permanent home. Turning to council homes, Ealing's housing revenue account is in a perilous state. Years of failure to do proper maintenance have led to a huge cost to maintain our stock today, even though residents still have to wait too long for repairs. And the commendable measures to ensure that the council doesn't pay for repairs until they've been checked as complete are not always working. The administration is not pushing the contractors as hard as it should do. Tenant satisfaction with repairs is down. I already mentioned the problem of voids in my earlier question. Meanwhile, AWAB's law, which of course absolutely the right thing for government to do, will add additional cost. The administration doesn't seem to have a coherent plan for how we fill the hole in the HRA. So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'm concerned about the administration's performance against the council plan throughout the housing space, and I hope to see improvement. This is an issue that we, as the newly enlarged Liberal Democrat opposition, will continue to press in the years ahead.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ball. And we have Councillor Douglas, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'd like to begin by paying tribute to my predecessor, Callum Anderson. While out speaking to residents these past few weeks, it's clear how hard he worked for the people of South Acton. The people of Buckingham and Bletchley are very lucky to have him as their MP. And it's fantastic to be joining such a wonderful team in South Acton with Councillors Blacker and Johnson. I cannot thank Councillor Blacker enough for his help and support in the campaign, and it's obviously a privilege to be joining Councillor Johnson, our Mayor, our longest serving Labour councillor, and a fountain of all knowledge when it comes to South Acton. I'd also like to thank Councillor Mason. Having previously worked with him as borough organiser, I know how much Ealing means to him, and I'm excited to play a role in delivering an even better borough under his leadership. The most important thanks, of course, is to the people of South Acton. Their votes show that Ealing Labour's bold plan for delivering real change is working, and residents believe in our vision. In the past decade, South Acton has been transformed. Thousands of new homes built, many genuinely affordable, hundreds of electric car chargers, countless bike hangars, and still so much yet to come. It's a hub of culture and activity, with independent shops, bars, restaurants, a cinema, parks, a sports centre. I may be biased, but I do believe it is the most exciting ward in the borough, and it's an utter privilege to serve its residents. As you can perhaps tell, I'm not originally from Ealing. I grew up in a village outside of Glasgow, under Labour governments in Westminster and Holyrood, and a Labour council. I learned to swim in the local pool. I learned an instrument for free at school. When I got sick, my parents didn't need to worry about NHS waiting lists or prescription fees that come with a seriously ill long-term child. I saw how those things disappeared when Labour were no longer in power. The pool closed, the lessons cost money, and healthcare was brought to its knees. That's why I got into politics, because I know the difference Labour in power makes locally and nationally to young people's lives. Now, it wouldn't be me if I didn't finish up by quoting my political hero. In his last ever speech, John Smith said, to paraphrase slightly, the opportunity to serve, that is all we ask. So I'd once again like to thank the people of South Acton for affording me that opportunity. I will not let you down.
Thank you very much, Councillor Douglas. For South Acton, Councillor Blacker.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Congratulations to Councillor Douglas, and thank you for the kind words. The cheque is in the pigeonhole now rather than the post. A fine choice by the borough's finest electors, although just as biased as Katie is, I am one of those electors, so I should probably declare that interest. It was a fantastic campaign. I look forward to working with you in the ward and in this room and elsewhere. Councillor Gallant, well done for doing your homework and reading the council plan. It is 3 years almost too late. FS9 has been there since the start. This was not the first year we put it in. It was in fact in the manifesto endorsed by the people of Ealing in 2022, so you're a little bit late. There is hope yet though for you. Although Councillor Malcolm had some excellent casework in his speech, he had no vision for the borough. And so although they crow about their victory, they were 4th in South Acton and they were 5th in Northolt. So if you can do a little more homework, there is hope for you yet. And hope is what we bring, because we do have a vision for this borough and we have hope for the young people of it in particular. In the last year, we have had some fantastic successes and we build on the work that led to our Ofsted good rating at the last inspection. But that is not the be all and the end all. That is licence to operate. That is, Councillor Malcolm, getting the basics right. It is about going further for us, not just having the Ealing Learning Partnership, but celebrating its Silver Award at the National Teaching Awards. And in fact, all those good things that we do are in there. And Councillor Gallant, you tell us there are no concrete targets, and then you read them out for us. And there are so many to cover. In just a minute, I will not do so them all. But we don't start tomorrow, we start yesterday. As I've already mentioned the YAC, and in fact, we've already published some of our plans to increase our in-house foster carers by up to 10%. And tomorrow at Cabinet, I hope we will approve them. An increased offer for our in-house carers, council tax exemption, parking exemption, free garden waste collections, and more. We will continue the hard work we do. And although it is possibly the last time I can tell you that 98% of our schools are rated good or outstanding, we will not stop making sure that they deliver the absolute best education. And again, it is not the headline that matters. It is the fact that our young people are outperforming the national averages. They're performing better than their peers. So it is not about the headlines. It is not about that Ofsted outstanding on the front of the school. It is about the young people and the hope they have for the future.
Thank you, Councillor Blatter. Councillor Young.
With your permission, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'll say thank you. Another year, another plan. Not necessarily much progress. As in last year's debate, I want to consider three major projects: Gurnell Leisure Centre, the Town Hall and Percival House. At least there has been some progress with Gurnell. Last year, it was lying empty and unused, an expensive asset costing us a lot of money to keep vacant. We are now, at least, making some progress in that the site is being demolished, which should save us some money on security and upkeep, but it does raise the question as to why it wasn't demolished some years ago. We have also submitted a planning application nearly 6 months ago now. The problem is that the application has not yet gone to committee, it's not been determined, and we do not know when or if it will be approved. We do know that neither the community nor the site on the floodplain of the River Brent will support the sort of development that will be required to fund rebuilding the leisure centre. We do know that the application, and I quote, is not in accordance with the development plan in force in the area, being a major development on land designated as metropolitan open land and comprising public open space. We do not know the GLA's attitude to these proposals, and there has been no financial information presented to Cabinet to show that 300 dwellings will be enough to meet the identified funding gap. Moreover, there has been no report on the revenue implications of the scheme. If the proposals are as financially dubious as those for the development on the Percival House site, then like that development, the Gurnell project will fail. The Town Hall is a project that's made no progress at all since last year. At this same meeting in 2023, it was the first council meeting to be held in the atrium in Percival House. Since then, a year on, we have not been able to use the Town Hall for civic use, for community use, or for business use, but it is still costing us money to maintain. The Town Hall has cost us over £600,000 for a year, just lying idle. It is not too late to adopt a less confrontational approach to the Friends of the Victoria Hall, working with the community to preserve and to enhance a community asset, notably one that was paid for by the community with no recourse to municipal funds. Surely working with the community must be the right course to take. The third area to look at is Percival House itself. It's only a quarter full. For the past year, it's been largely empty, floor after floor with either nobody or only a handful of staff. After the collapse of the previous scheme, which is always financially uncertain, I had understood that the plan was to let out parts of Percival House, as well as to open it up to community use. Well, all offices are underused at the moment, so there won't be many takers for the unused office space, and community use won't generate much income. Percival House costs us millions of a year to run. We need a radical approach to Percival House, maybe even selling it and looking elsewhere for office accommodation. It's another example of an expensive resource lying almost empty and hardly used under this administration. This administration constantly complains about austerity and the lack of money. However, in the past 3 years, funding has increased by more than 36%. But as these three stalled projects show, this administration is not spending these monies wisely.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Thank you for almost sticking to 3 minutes. Councillor Kamarjit Nagpal.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Allow me to start by thanking officers for all their hard work in putting together this year's council plan. We've already delivered so much for our residents over the last year, with over 3,500 new jobs, 500 new apprenticeships, and over 800 residents having their pay rise to the London living wage. Behind all these numbers are the lives of real people, the residents whose lives are directly impacted by the work that we're doing. Whether it's Yamini, whose place of work accredited as a living wage employer, providing her with financial security and the peace of mind of knowing that her bills would be paid at the end of the month. Or Tasleen, who attended English language classes run by Learn Ealing, giving her the confidence to pursue her dream of opening a restaurant. The changes that we're making empower people to change their lives. And I'm looking forward to the year ahead and continuing to make good on the promises that we made to Ealing's residents. We'll be extending our successful Learning Zone programme. We already have zones in Northolt, Southall, Acton and Hanwell, and we have plans to expand into Perivale, Greenford and Ealing, so that residents in all 7 of our towns can have access to educational opportunities. We're continuing our campaign to get local businesses to become living wage accredited. We already have 70 local businesses signed up, helping hundreds of residents to see an uplift in their pay. I look forward to working with Ealing's businesses, promoting our support package to help more businesses become accredited, to improve pay for workers and in recruitment for employers. And we will, of course, continue to deliver on our goal of creating 10,000 new, good and well-paid jobs for our residents. With our new jobs and skills strategy now adopted, we have a clear plan for creating jobs in key sectors to ensure that well-paid jobs are created right here in Ealing. We want our residents to have access to well-paid jobs and for employers in Ealing to have access to a highly skilled local workforce. Mr. Deputy Mayor, this is a plan that will deliver growth, jobs and opportunity to the people of Ealing, and I am proud to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Nagpal. Councillor Moffat.
Good evening, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and thank you for calling me to make my maiden speech today. Elected only on Friday morning, this has been an exciting yet daunting ride. I've been humbled by the trust placed in me by Northolt Mandeville, and I hope as their councillor I can meet the expectations that were made all so clear on the doorstep. In Deirdre, I have massive shoes to fill. Westminster is lucky to have her drive, her energy, and her commitment. She'll be missed in Northolt, and I know here in this building. But before I turn to the issues facing Northolt, I beg a little indulgence. I want to thank some people. Firstly here, Councillors Rice and Summers, who were unstinting in their support during this by-election, and now, hopefully, as my ward colleagues. Secondly, also every councillor who came out in support of me and the Labour Party, and indeed every volunteer from across Ealing, from across London, and from even further afield that knocked on doors and spoke to residents. Thirdly, the voters, and everyone who came out on a damp, cold Thursday in October to vote and be part of our democracy. The weather was not the most auspicious way to begin any election. But also finally, I'd like to thank my mother, Vela, who was there on Thursday but cannot be here tonight, who's one of the most unstintingly moral people I know. She's informed, guided and faced much interrogation over the years to strengthen my resolve to do what is right, and I know I am doing it now. When I was 18, a neighbour hurried up to her and in a hushed tone commiserated her for having a son who put up a Labour poster. But not to worry, it was a phase and I would grow out of it. My mother proudly informed her that she too voted Labour, and she still does. I know I haven't grown out of it either, and I still put up Labour posters. So I am nothing but certain in my support for Ealing Labour, because we are delivering for Northolt. Just across Northolt, 12 streets have got better and improved street lighting. We've installed 46 public on-street electric vehicle chargers. We've established stay and play groups for families receiving portage. And we've secured a brighter future for Northolt High, rebuilding the NHS accommodation and developing the future of the school into sixth form entry with specialist resource provision. This is being delivered by this Labour administration, by a Labour government in Westminster, and all despite 14 years of the demonisation of local government. Now that is something I am proud to be part of, proud of Labour, proud of Ealing, and proud of Northolt's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moffat. Councillor Zizamos.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, let me talk about how clean the borough really is. Waverley Garden sits on the North Circular. They have no wheelie bins as they are on a red route. They have black plastic bags instead. Unfortunately, it seems some residents do not have anywhere to keep these black bags on their premises, so they deposit them on the pavement outside every day of the week, despite the refuge collection only happening once a week. You can imagine what that means. Black bags sitting on the pavement all week. Ripped bags, Mr. and Mrs. Fox having dinner every night. Domestic rubbish scattered over the pavement. Topped off with opportunistic fly tippers seeing black bags and adding their fly tipping too. When you then come to Abbey Parade on the Geriatry itself, flats above the shops with no bin storage either. Still further along on Bollier Parade, the flats above the shops also have no bin storage. The street bin outside in front of the shops is their de facto rubbish bin, as it is in Abbey Parade. It is there for their domestic waste, put out every day, with the additional halo effect all around the bin of more domestic rubbish and the old-fashioned fly tipping too. Greener Ealing does a fabulous job daily of cleaning all the domestic rubbish in the bin and around the bin on Bollier Parade. Greener Ealing clears the ripped bags, but of course they do not clear every piece of domestic rubbish. If the wind has come along, the litter is now in someone's front garden or halfway up their residential street that is only swept once every 3 months. Many of these residential properties have something in common. They have HMO licenses or additional licensing. One of the provisions of the licensing rules is to have bin provision. Liberal Democrats say that there appears to be no oversight provided by the council despite licenses being issued and fees being collected. The strategy to continue to license more rental properties is all well and good, but do homework when issuing license is a basic thing like rubbish storage provided. It would be great if Greener Ealing was spending less time sorting out domestic rubbish rammed into a council street bin and the overspill, and more time sweeping Mason's Green Lane, where children walk or cycle to school along it to the Holy Family Catholic School, whose entrance sits on the lane. The lane is swept every 3 months. There is no council street bin in sight, and the path is strewn with crisp packets, spent drink containers, empty coffee cups, and worst of all, beer cans and empty spirit bottles. It's not a great way for children to start or end the school day. What does it say about Ealing? That we adults do not care about the litter-strewn swept path. Why should children care if we do not? The levels of cleanliness for street free of litter is sitting on 93%, and the council is striving to get to 94%. I wish I could believe either of those figures. It is. The delivery plan, just one tip. The delivery plan will not solve problems for those living in Waverley Gardens
When you can
or
wrap,
Abbey Parade.
one moment, please, members. Yeah, if you could wrap up, please, Councillor
I
Zizmos.
will.
Thank you.
I promise.
Thank you, members.
Or for that matter, the children's walk into or cycle into Mason's Green Path. The Liberal Democrats want a clean and safe Ealing. The Labor Council should be doing better to sort out.
Thank you, Councillor Zizmos. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jasbir Anand. Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'm proud to stand before you today to reflect on the Council's achievements over the past year and share our vision for the future. Despite the challenges we've faced, we've made real progress in improving the lives of our residents across our 7 towns, and we're committed to continuing this important work. Mr. Deputy Mayor, one of our key successes has been enhancing safety across the borough. We've rolled out new CCTV cameras, 4 in Acton, 15 across Ealing and 5 in Southall, and that's helping to create safer public spaces. Additionally, we've upgraded street lighting in 132 streets across 6 wards and 12 streets in Northolt, ensuring our communities are well lit and secure at all hours. Our commitment to making Ealing safer for women and girls remains very strong. We continue to enforce the public space protection order on Mattock Lane, and we have invested over 1 million in improving public spaces. Following our conversation with women around the borough, we are delivering a new action plan that drives meaningful change through our male violence against women and girls strategy. Mr. Deputy Mayor, looking ahead, we will deliver the agreed actions from this plan. This includes developing and implementing new VOG-related licensing activity and conditions under a new licensing policy in July 2025. We will also continue implementing recommendations from our 2023 HMIP inspection,
with an additional £600,000 investment to reduce youth violence. Education is a key focus for the year ahead, and we will implement inclusion visits to all secondary schools, targeting disproportionality in exclusion data. To further support schools, we will pilot a suspension data panel, encouraging early identification of issues. We'll also work closely with the new head teacher of Ealing Alternative Provision to develop a three-tiered approach to parenting exclusion. Mr. Deputy Mayor, our future efforts will deepen our collaboration with the police through award panels, ensuring local concerns are heard and acted upon. Finally, Mr. Deputy Mayor, we are determined to make Ealing a safer, more inclusive place for all. Mr. Mayor, if I could have a second finally, and I'll take this opportunity to congratulate Councillor Moffat and Councillor Douglas on their maiden speeches and also welcome them to the Ealing Labour family. Congratulations to Councillor Oxley to his Lib Dem Labour family. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Anand. Councillor Manro.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I must join colleagues in thanking officers for their hard work in delivering on our goals from last year and helping us to put together this year's plan. We've had a busy year last year, and I'm proud of the huge progress we've made. We've adopted Regulation 19 local plan, setting out our vision, goals and expectations for development in the borough over the next decade. We've worked hard to secure an average of 39% affordable housing on developments in the borough, helping to deliver the genuinely affordable homes that people living across our 7 towns deserve. We were ranked the best planning authority in London. We're amongst the 12 nationwide planning authorities that have platinum status. Ealing is open to business, open to development, and open to good growth that benefits our residents. Through Good for Ealing, we're continuing to drive inward investment in our borough and to help boost our local economy, so people from our 7 towns can benefit from the wealth we're looking to create. In fact, there's 2 projects which may be coming to Ealing very soon, which will deliver over $4 billion of investment in the borough, if those 2 projects go ahead. This gives us a great foundation to build on, reaching the heights that our residents deserve. We're also working very hard to bring stall sites back underway as we look to meet our targets on affordable housing as the housing market begins to recover, so we can secure the genuinely affordable homes our residents need. I look forward to working with the new Labour government that is putting house building at the heart of its plans for growth. And Councillor Ball, when you stop sitting on the fence and actually support some housing developments in the borough, then I'll listen to you about housing. We've been taking action on rogue landlords and protecting our residents and communities on our Article 4 direction on HMOs, allowing us to better control the quality of private accommodation in the borough. We're progressing the community infrastructure levy, which is now publicly available on our website, through the examination process, taxing developers and putting money back into communities across our 7 towns. While the plan that we're agreeing tonight is for the year ahead, the changes that will come from it will be felt by communities we serve for years and decades to come. With new homes to live in, new businesses to work and shop with, and new communities to call their own. I'm so proud of the work we've done to improve our borough for the future generations of Ealing residents, and I'm proud to endorse this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Manro. Virtually online, we have Councillor Kumar. Can you see the clock, Councillor Kumar?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
Deputy Mayor. Safety, as we all know, is paramount to all communities, no matter where they live. This not only affects people's well-being, but also impacts business and local economy. Ealing attracts many visitors and tourists, and ensuring their safety is crucial. There are some areas with more concerns than others, and these need to be a priority, in particular our train stations. I'm encouraged and pleased that the Ealing Broadway SNT and police team have regular engagement with the public, holding coffee surgeries, organising ward panels, street stalls such as in Haven Green, including several successful operations carried out by specialist teams who check for anyone carrying weapons, knives and drugs. Walkabouts in the centre of Ealing Broadway and surrounding streets, and signposting the rough sleepers to seek help, also with the in engagement of ward councillors. More public awareness is essential on safety issues. Many are not aware of the options available, particularly when confronted by a situation, say on a, as a small example on how to make a silent call when in danger. You can call 999 and even whisper if unable to speak. You may be prompted to cough or tap the keys on your phone to answer questions if possible. Tapping 55 if calling from a mobile will be connected to the police as a response. So some serious incidents have taken place, which is destructive to the traumatized victims. Drunk and disorderly behavior needs to be tackled and streets kept safe with more police presence that can make a real difference. Council's Safer Communities team is very responsive and do what they can, but it is challenging. Vehicle crime rose high, with some areas hiring private security firms to patrol their area at their own expense. Councillor Anand has mentioned more CCTV, but more CCTV in areas of high crime could make a huge difference. The CCTV camera footage has assisted police in some instances with valuable evidence. More cameras would make the process more efficient in identifying and resolving crimes. Impact of crime on local businesses and customers cannot be overstated. Cost to businesses from theft and other criminal activities, aggressive behavior by the perpetrators leads to losses for the business and above all affects the well-being of the workers who cannot approach the individuals for fear of harm. This also affects customers who may take their custom to other areas, which is not conducive to our economy at all. So I hope your town, your voice will include business engagement in future in conjunction with the community to make our very multicultural Ealing a place of pride, a place safe to visit and thriving. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kumar. Councillor Hashani.
Portfolio is our commitment to strengthening the bonds that tie our communities together, and this commitment will really now underpin all initiatives in the council, and I think you'll see more of that over the year as we develop the community charter. But over the last year we launched the Your Voice Your Town forums, placing communities really at the heart of decision making. And in answer to Councillor Gallant's question, this autumn, actually only in the next couple of weeks, months, we will be holding these priority setting events and empowering communities to direct funding to local projects. So you're going to see that money translate into local projects very, very soon. But with all due respect, the projects were never supposed to be driven by councillors. Okay, it's all in the name, communities in the lead. And I'm sorry that you didn't appreciate last night's training events as much as I did. But it was great to see so many of you there. That was one of the three. And I thank all the officers who are working diligently to make these events happen and to bring us all together and hopefully, build that capacity within the council. We've made significant progress in key capital projects. We submitted a planning application for Gurnell. We opened Pear Tree Park, and I don't know what time you've been, Councillor Gallant, but I see it buzzing every weekend and every day I've been there, and there's so many planned activities ahead. So, maybe I can invite you to some of those activities. I'll ping you over some of the details. Councillor Gallant, again, on the Lido, we are committed to the Lido. And as I told you last time in this council chamber, we are currently reviewing the preferred locations in the context of the wider ambition of the regional park. But on the note of parks, I'm very proud to say we're setting the standard with 28 green flag parks. So I'm sure you're all enjoying those, even in these sort of misty days. We're supporting residents to be happy and healthy with over 2 million visits to leisure centres over the last year. And with Gurnell, we will be able to increase this substantially. We're investing in critical services from cradle to grave, from over £1.5 million invested in our local playgrounds across the borough to extending the Greenford Cemetery, providing critical services for our communities where it matters the most. And on the next bit, I feel a deep sense of responsibility for our work with refugees and asylum seekers. I recently visited Ease and attended events supporting Hong Kongers and Ukrainian refugees, and I'm proud that they feel supported in Ealing. And this year we will be submitting our application for the Borough of Sanctuary status, which will include our refugee plan of action. And if granted, it will validate our efforts because there's so much work already being done, but also give us the impetus to move forward and faster. So I'll stop there, but thank you very much, and I obviously commend this council plan.
Thank you, Councillor Hashmi. Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Often our surroundings and our topics for debate give a sense of familiarity. Tonight, obviously, we have novelty, we have something new, we have something refreshed in our midst, we have new colleagues. And I'd like to congratulate Councillors Moffat and Douglas and Oxley. Councillor Douglas in particular, I call her my twin because we were born in the same town, albeit that it doesn't sound like it, and it was 1 or 2 years apart. Councillor Ball said the Liberal Democrat group is enlarged. It certainly sounds inflated, doesn't it? But I look forward one day to hearing the walking tour of the borough being completed. But I'd like to focus, if I may, your permission, on, in my portfolio, on IE9, which this year is collaborate with the new Labour government to develop and implement policies that benefit the borough's residents. And what a challenge that new government faces. Just in London, Mr. Deputy Mayor, this year we have a projection of £600 million of overspend across the 32 boroughs and the City of London. Next year projected at 700 million. Claire Holland, the Chair of London Councils, calls it the most dire situation for local government finances that we have ever faced. And in 3 main areas: adult social care, children's care, homelessness and temporary accommodation, what I've been calling around this building the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse. And when you're dealing with all 3 at the same time, things really are a challenge. The Chief Executive and I were at a seminar last week, convened by London Councils on local government finance. It was quite bracing to hear the impact on boroughs of all political favours. All 3 rosettes were represented. And to think it was a relief almost to feel that however bad things are here, others are suffering much worse. And all round the tables, people were talking about not enhancing their council tax support offering. They were talking about cutting it. And not talking about cutting it, they were telling me that that's what they were doing. Other boroughs are in crisis. We have challenges. And I think that pays enormous tribute to the work that's been done around this organisation by our officers to ensure that we've got the best possible chance of pulling through. And we must be, as local government, one of many supplicants to the new Labour government in the face of financial chaos to produce joined up solutions to the crises that face us. And we will do that, and we will play our part as the London Borough of Ealing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Conti.
Thank you. We welcome the action on investing £30 million on fighting crime, antisocial behaviour and violent crime. In Hanger Hill, there's been a particular concern recently on the Brentham Estate and on Boiler Road regarding thefts from motor vehicles and of motor vehicles, including when weapons have been used. On the deliverables for 24-25, it includes ward panel setting action plans, and that's a key priority for the ward panel in Hanger Hill. And though we have been assured by both the police and the council that this issue is being taken seriously, residents are yet to feel they've seen any tangible results. Residents continue to raise the need for improved lighting and CCTV, not only to act as a deterrent, but to help to capture evidence that then could help the police. One of the obstacles raised by the council, in particular in the Brentham area, is that it's a conservation area. And this particular type of infrastructure is difficult because of the parameters set within that. So I hope that as part of this investment in community safety, that we can look how in conservation areas that can be spent and how the infrastructure could be used, but whilst in keeping the nature of the area that we all enjoy. I also welcome the health and social care section about the co-production boards. They're being expanded to increase involvement by people with lived experience. I hope the council learned from the experience with Careline to actually about how bringing residents with them when these changes and making sure that they're informed. I just want to go back to something Councillor Mason mentioned at the start about humility. I did speak at the last council meeting about that it was our party's, we had to reflect on the results of the last election. And I think there's a lot of self-reflection as well about the most recent result in Hanger Hill. But that doesn't mean that we do not hold your party to account over the choices that you make. It doesn't mean that we don't challenge you on the choices that you're making. And ultimately, it was, the public finances are difficult, but it was Labour's choice to choose inflation-busting pay rises to people earning over £60,000 whilst taking away winter fuel payments for people who are only on £13,000 a year. It was in opposition that Labour said that cuts to winter fuel payments could cost 4,000 lives. But it was one of the first things that you did when you came into government. So it's absolutely right that we challenge you and hold you to account. It was your party who was saying very similar things before the election. Now, Councillor Nagpal, you mentioned that, on your experience in South Acton, that some pensions don't need it. But I don't think that's the majority of pensioners of the 33,000 in Ealing who are going to lose out, those on 13, 14 and £15,000 a year. So yes, we are humble about the results and we will reflect, but we will continue to challenge you in the years ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Conti. Councillor Rice, 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Dame Sarah Barker was a Labour Party activist who became the national agent and acting general secretary for the party. I once got, excuse me, I once got dubbed the Dame Sarah Barker of Northolt because there were so many elections going on and I was constantly calling on my fellow members to get out and knock on doors. Well, this year it seems to be a case all over again with mayoral, GLA, general and also ward by-elections in less than 6 months. Exhausting. Hopefully it is all done for a while at least, and I congratulate and warmly welcome Councillor Jonathan Oxley in Hanger Hill, Councillor Katie Douglas in South Acton, and especially, of course, Councillor Dominic Moffat in Northolt Mandeville. This evening we talk about the council plan, and I understand better than many just how the council plan contributed to our victory in Northolt Mandeville, and why Councillor Moffat sits here today and not one of his opponents. One thing Councillor Moffat should prepare for is the number of emails he will receive on housing matters. What the majority in Northolt ask about is how they can move into the new housing which we are proud to be building locally. And don't just take it from me, but note the Ealing Resident Survey from last year, which found that quality of housing was an issue to residents in Northolt. We want better in Northolt and we are getting it, as we are certainly not being left out as Ealing gets ever closer to building 4,000 genuinely affordable new homes by the end of this 4-year term. And we continue to invest a further £50 million to improve the safety and quality of residents' homes. Visions for Northolt told us time and time again how much residents value clean air and clean streets. And they always strive to do their bit, as so many heroes in Northolt get out there and litter pick either alone or with local groups such as Lagercan. Litter is one area where we Northolt Mandeville councillors have truly listened, organising litter picks ourselves and pushing council officers to drive more resources into Northolt. Because of us councillors, fixed penalty notices for littering went up from 1 in 1 month to 29 FPMs the following month. We listened and we got the patrols out there, and this is no surprise when during the campaign residents had credited us with listening, and this is no surprise that they voted Labour on Thursday. Visions for Northolt has led the way in so much and has the High Streets, and so has the High Streets Task Force. When in 2022, residents wanted to see our clock tower working again and enjoying some tender loving care, Ealing Council delivered. And of course, when one resident raised the issue of crime and antisocial behaviour on the doors last week, I could tell her about the money we're investing and the work we are doing with young people. That further 600,000 into reducing youth violence and our inclusion visits to secondary schools will make our estates in Northolt safe as our residents deserve them to be. With a record like this, I look forward to 2026 and getting Councillor Moffat elected once more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Councillor Corday.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, as Councillor for Greenford Broadway, I'm proud to support the council plan. This plan addresses the needs of our community and sets a clear path for economic growth and improvement in Greenford and Greenford Broadway. One of the exciting projects for our area is the Greenford Innovation District. This will bring affordable workspaces and new jobs in sectors like STEM and IT. Mr. Deputy Mayor, this is a great opportunity for residents to access well-paying jobs and help drive economic growth in our community. I'm also pleased, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to see the council's commitment to improving our environment. We have had 119 electric vehicle chargers installed in Greenford, with 57 of these on street. This is a big step towards reducing emissions and supporting greener transport. Additionally, Mr. Deputy Mayor, the Greenford Tree Planting Program, the refurbishment of Riverton Park, and the introduction of beavers will improve our local green spaces and make them enjoyable. Not only that, Mr. Deputy Mayor, the council is also tackling air quality issues in Greenford, working with the Environment Agency to address dust pollution affecting the area. This will help improve health and quality of life for our residents. Lastly, the £13 million investment in crime prevention will make our streets safer. This is essential for restoring confidence in our local community and ensuring better quality of life for everyone. Mr. Deputy Mayor, this plan is practical and focuses on the key areas that matter to Greenford and Greenford Broadway. It is a plan I fully support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Corday. Councillor Baines. I've got Councillor Baines on my list.
Oh, sorry, that's not on my list.
Yep, you're on it.
Okay.
I've called you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. We're here tonight to talk about something that affects every single one of us, the future of Ealing. The Ealing Council Plan isn't just a list of policies. It's a roadmap for real, tangible improvements in our borough. Whether you live in Dormers, Wells, Acton, or anywhere in between, this plan is about making life better for all of us. Fairer opportunities, safer streets, greener spaces, and homes that people can truly afford. This plan reflects our commitment to fairness. When I say fair, I mean ensuring that everyone, no matter where they come from, has access to opportunities they deserve. With Labour in power at every level, local government, London and Westminster, we have every chance of making this happen. We're already making great progress. In Southall, the construction work on the Southall Square Pocket Park has been completed, adding much needed green space. Our plan for planting 50,000 new trees across the borough and creating 10 new parks and open spaces is part of our commitment to rewilding Ealing, improving air quality and making greener making it greener for everyone to enjoy. Looking ahead, architects are working on the feasibility design for Southall Community Hub. This project will transform Southall into a vibrant community space. In Dormers Wells and across Ealing, we see the strength in our diverse community, but we also recognise the challenges that some face. That's why we've invested 13 million into making our streets safer and providing targeted support for those most in need. Whether it's tackling crime, providing affordable homes or creating greener spaces, we are committed to ensuring that no one is left behind. Housing remains a priority. With 400 million committed to delivering 4,000 genuinely affordable homes, we're not just building houses, we're building stable, long-term futures. These homes are part of our promise to create real affordability in Ealing, ensuring families can stay in the borough, grow roots and thrive in a safe and supportive environment. This investment will help us reduce overcrowding, tackle homelessness and offer families the security they need to move forward with confidence. Furthermore, we're driving economic recovery by creating 10,000 new jobs and 2,000 apprenticeships. These opportunities are about ensuring that young people and all residents have pathways to success, securing a brighter economic future for the borough. And finally, one of the things that I'm most proud of is how this plan listens to residents. We're putting power back in the hands of the people, ensuring that communities across our 7 towns have a real voice in shaping their future. This isn't just about policies handed down, it's about creating an Ealing that reflects the ambitions of its people. This plan is bold, ambitious and borough-wide. It lays the foundation for a stronger, safer, greener and more inclusive Ealing. We have everything in place to deliver the change that Ealing's residents deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Baines. Councillor Mason.
I've only got 3 minutes, so I'll try and make this quick. So to Councillor Conti, again, we'll take no lessons from a government that created a £22 billion black hole, that commissioned pay review boards to come up with recommendations for a future government that it didn't budget for. Every year we have to budget for our pay deal that gets negotiated on behalf of all local government. The national government didn't do it because they knew that they were going to lose, and they set us up for, unfortunately, some very difficult decisions that unfortunately we're now having to make to get the nation's finances back in order. If you want to have a conversation, Councillor Kumar, Councillor Zizimos, about the decline of public services over the last 14 years, I think you need look no further back than the record of your own government. Councillor Young. Usually, Councillor Young, as the finance spokesperson, we would expect and anticipate you to have an understanding of the macroeconomic situation that's made any form of development in the borough and across the country that bit harder, but quite entertaining to hear you so clearly be at total odds with your own leader over the future of Gurnell, which you seem to suggest shouldn't happen, and that your leader in a few speeches beforehand said that we weren't making enough progress on. Councillor Ball, we will take no lectures from you on affordable housing, homelessness and temporary accommodation when you are one of the worst people in planning committee and being on record as opposing so much of the council's ambition to build genuinely affordable homes. So, perhaps you might want to think twice before you bleat on about the state of housing. You, I am afraid, are one of the blockers, not one of the enablers. Councillor Gallant, so far the Tories in this chamber have defended landlords, the privately educated, and it seems now you're more concerned about your own chair as sort of the little Napoleon of Ealing Broadway, in order to, I don't know what, because it's not defending the interests of your own residents. If you're really worried about a chair, it should be the one that you're sitting on, because if you carry on the way that you're carrying on, the trajectory suggests that you won't be in it. And look, and Councillor Malcolm, let me say, the percentage of residents that believe that the council is doing a good job, up by 5% to 87%. The percentage of people who believe that the council is making their area a better place to live, up a record 30%. The number of residents who believe our staff and are friendly and polite, up by 5%, and the number of people who believe that the council makes a difference to their neighbourhood, up 10%. We have some of the most significant record levels of satisfaction with the council than we've ever had. Yet we consistently hear from the Liberal Democrats, not an amendment or an alternative vision, but we just hear them bring their casework. And whilst their casework is important, and every single instance of where the council doesn't quite get it right need to be investigated, explored and rectified, a story it does not tell about this administration or about this borough. The residents of this borough consistently vote with their feet because they know that we have a plan for growth, a plan for tackling the climate emergency, a plan for tackling the inequalities that hold too many of our residents back. And they consistently ask us time and time again to come forward with concrete plans, yes, and we deliver on them year in, year out. That is what this council plan does. That is what this administration is dedicated towards. We're so pleased to have Councillors Moffat and Councillor Douglas joining us in that mission. I commend this plan to you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Members, we have participated in the debate and the recommendations have been moved, seconded, and I will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. And all those against? And in the interest of transparency, do we have any abstentions? None in the room. The motion is therefore carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good timing, members. And we come to item 8, which is the review of political balance. This report has been withdrawn, so we will move on to the next item of business. Item 9, appointments to committees and other bodies. Are the recommendations moved?
Yes. Moved, Mr Deputy Mayor, with a couple of additions as well, if I may, that I would just like to welcome and add Councillor Moffat onto the Licensing Committee, replacing Councillor Sharma, and welcome Councillor Douglas and add her onto the planning pool, please. And welcome to Councillor Oxley as well to the Chamber.
Okay, with the amendments, are we going to allow Councillor Douglas and Councillor Moffat on those committees? Yeah, agreed. There we are. Okay, item number 10, overview and scrutiny annual reports. Do we have a councillor that's going to move? Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I wish to commend the report to Council. Hope you all read it, and I'd like to thank everybody involved in the scrutiny process last year, officers and members included. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon, for the report and moving it. Are the recommendations seconded? We have seconders. We'll record somebody. Thank you, Councillor Shaw. And are they agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That brings us to item 11, urgent key decisions which are exempted from call-in. Is the report noted? Thank you. That brings us to the end of business. Thank you very much for helping me, supporting me in this, my first council meeting that I've chaired. And any other business is if you'd like to join us upstairs on the first floor in the Mayor's Parlour for refreshments. Thank you very much.